The United States might be a global superpower, but even superpowers don't stand alone. Beneath the stars and stripes lies a vast network of economic partnerships, resource pipelines, and strategic alliances that keep the engine of America running. Without some of these key nations, the entire system could start to buckle. From the tech in your pocket to the oil in your car, much of what Americans rely on doesn't actually come from within their borders. And in 2025, global supply chains, trade routes, and diplomatic agreements are more essential than ever. If a few of these critical nations pulled the plug, the U.S. wouldn't just feel the shock, it could spiral. Today on Globe Discoveries, we're counting down 10 countries that, if withdrawn from the equation, could bring the American economy, and maybe even its way of life, to a screeching halt. These aren't just allies, they're lifelines. Number 10. Saudi Arabia. When it comes to oil, few nations have as much sway over America's economy as Saudi Arabia. Despite recent moves toward renewable energy, the U.S. still imports hundreds of thousands of barrels of Saudi oil daily. And when Riyadh adjusts production, global prices shift overnight. In 2025, tensions in the Middle East and shifts within OPEC Plus have reminded the U.S. just how critical Saudi energy exports remain. With global oil markets already strained, any disruption from Saudi Arabia could spike gas prices in the U.S. by as much as 40% within weeks, according to the Energy Information Administration. Beyond oil, Saudi Arabia also plays a major role in stabilizing the petrodollar system. Most global oil transactions are still done in US dollars, which helps maintain the dollar's dominance and keeps inflation in check. If that changes, America's financial system could face serious turbulence. Diplomatically, the U.S.-Saudi relationship has long been complicated, equal parts alliance and tension. But underneath the politics is a hard truth. When it comes to energy security, the U.S. needs Saudi Arabia more than it likes to admit. If Saudi Arabia ever turns away, economically or strategically, the ripple effects could be global, and America would be among the hardest hit. Number 9. Taiwan. It might be a small island, but Taiwan plays an outsized role in keeping the U.S. economy running, especially in the digital age. As the global leader in semiconductor manufacturing, Taiwan produces nearly 60% of the world's chips and over 90% of the most advanced ones, many of which end up in American smartphones, cars, medical equipment, and defense systems. In 2025, with demand for AI and electric vehicles at an all-time high, the reliance on Taiwanese chipmakers like TSMC has never been greater. Any disruption, whether from geopolitical tensions with China or natural disasters, could bring U.S. industries to a grinding halt, and experts warned that stockpiles would only last a few weeks. The U.S. is scrambling to build its own semiconductor capacity, but it's still years away from catching up. In the meantime, Taiwan's high-tech exports remain the invisible scaffolding holding up America's innovation economy. And that scaffolding is incredibly fragile. If Taiwan ever faltered, politically or economically, the U.S. wouldn't just feel a shortage in gadgets. It would face a full-blown industrial crisis. Number 8. Japan. Japan and the United States share one of the most integrated industrial relationships in the world, and without Japan, much of America's economy would start to creak. From precision robotics and auto parts to advanced electronics and rare components, Japanese exports fuel countless American industries. In 2025, Japan remains one of the top 5 suppliers of tech infrastructure and machinery to the U.S. Japan's influence is especially strong in the automotive sector. Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, not just household names, but major U.S. employers and contributors to local economies across several states. And many U.S.-made vehicles still depend on parts manufactured in Japan. But it's not just about cars. Japan is also a vital player in America's defense and space sectors, supplying niche technology that no other nation produces at the same quality or scale. And as tensions rise in the Indo-Pacific, the strategic importance of this partnership becomes even more critical. Should Japan ever pull back, or if global instability interrupts that supply chain, the effects on U.S. production and competitiveness would be immediate. Quiet but essential, Japan is one of the pillars propping up American industry. Without it, the foundation starts to shake. Number 7. Germany. When it comes to industrial powerhouses, Germany ranks among the top, especially in its relationship with the U.S. In 2025, Germany remains America's largest European trade partner, exporting precision machinery, vehicles, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals. From automotive tech to green infrastructure, the U.S. leans heavily on Germany's manufacturing might. Much of America's renewable energy transition depends on German-made components. Think wind turbines, electric vehicle batteries, and solar panel infrastructure. And in the pharmaceutical world, companies like Bayer and BioNTech play critical roles in supplying life-saving medication. Any significant slowdown in German exports would immediately ripple through American supply chains. Moreover, Germany serves as a key logistical and military partner in Europe, housing several U.S. bases and facilitating NATO operations. If Germany were ever to reduce military cooperation or face its own economic instability, U.S. defense readiness in the region could be jeopardized. That would force Washington to shift strategy and spend more. German financial institutions also invest billions into American markets, helping fuel both Wall Street and Main Street. The transatlantic investment relationship runs deep, touching real estate, tech startups, and infrastructure. Disruptions in that flow could mean trouble for credit availability and interest rates. Germany might not always dominate headlines, but its economic engine is silently vital to the U.S. machine. And if that engine ever sputters, America could feel it hard. Number 6. South Korea. South Korea has quietly become one of America's most essential global partners, especially when it comes to technology and defense. In 2025, the U.S. relies on South Korean firms for everything from semiconductors and mobile devices to electric vehicle batteries and memory chips. Tech giants like Samsung and SK Hynix are deeply woven into America's digital economy. South Korean exports help power Silicon Valley, supply data centers, and keep the consumer electronics market stocked. Without them, U.S. manufacturers would struggle to maintain production schedules or innovate at the current pace. Simply put, America's tech race would slow to a crawl. Beyond tech, South Korea plays a strategic military role in the Indo-Pacific. It hosts nearly 30,000 U.S. troops and serves as a frontline deterrent against regional threats like North Korea and China. This presence is a key pillar of U.S. foreign policy and a massive logistical advantage. Financially, South Korean banks and investors are also major stakeholders in U.S. assets. In 2025, bilateral investment flows exceed $100 billion, further binding the two economies together. If tensions or instability were to hit Seoul, the shock would reverberate across U.S. markets. Whether in commerce or combat readiness, South Korea is more than just an ally. It's a cornerstone of America's ability to project power and stay competitive in a high-tech world. Number 5. Canada. It's easy to forget how crucial Canada is to the daily functioning of the U.S. economy. In 2025, Canada is America's largest trading partner, supplying everything from crude oil and lumber to automotive parts and electricity. When the U.S. flips on a light switch, chances are a portion of that power is coming from the north. Canada delivers nearly 90% of its oil exports directly to the United States, helping keep fuel prices in check. In the Great Lakes region, electricity grids are literally shared across borders. Disruptions in this flow, whether due to politics, weather, or supply chain bottlenecks, would immediately hit U.S. industries and homes. Beyond resources, Canada is deeply integrated into U.S. manufacturing. Many American cars are assembled with parts that cross the border multiple times before completion. The economies of Michigan, Ohio, and New York depend heavily on seamless Canadian cooperation. But it's not just trade, it's stability. Canada's political and economic steadiness makes it a reliable backstop during U.S. turmoil. If that relationship were to falter, the U.S. would not only lose a supply partner, but a strategic safety valve. In short, Canada isn't just a neighbor. It's America's economic backbone in disguise. Number 4. China. Despite the rising political tensions, the U.S. and China remain financially and economically entangled in 2025. China is still one of the largest holders of U.S. debt and supplies vast quantities of goods to American retailers. From consumer electronics and clothing to pharmaceutical ingredients, China's exports are deeply embedded in American life. Chinese manufacturing keeps costs low for U.S. businesses and consumers alike. If access were suddenly cut, inflation would soar, and entire sectors could face crippling shortages. Even in areas where the U.S. is trying to decouple, the timeline is years, not months. China also plays a significant role in the U.S. tech ecosystem, providing rare earth minerals crucial to batteries, wind turbines, and defense equipment. These supply chains are notoriously difficult to replace, and disruptions would leave major gaps in critical infrastructure. For all the talk of rivalry, the dependency runs deep. Meanwhile, Wall Street remains closely tied to Chinese investment patterns. In 2025, even a small policy shift in Beijing can cause ripple effects in American stock markets and bond yields. That level of influence makes China both a competitor and a necessary economic counterpart. If the US-China relationship collapses, it won't just be a geopolitical headache, it could be an economic earthquake. Number 3. United Kingdom. The special relationship between the US and the United Kingdom is more than just political, it's deeply economic. In 2025, the UK ranks among the top foreign investors in the United States, with billions of dollars fueling American jobs, real estate, and tech startups. British companies are embedded in everything from finance and pharmaceuticals to energy and entertainment. The U.S. also exports over $125 billion worth of goods and services to the UK annually, making it a top destination for American producers. When that trade is interrupted, industries from aerospace to agriculture feel the sting. The financial services sector, in particular, is deeply intertwined through institutions like Barclays and HSBC. Beyond commerce, the UK serves as America's most trusted global ally in intelligence and defense. The two countries share vast surveillance networks, cooperate on cybersecurity, and lead joint military operations worldwide. Disruption in this alliance would leave a strategic void Washington can't easily fill. Educationally, the UK is also a major partner with transatlantic academic institutions, research programs, and student exchange initiatives enriching both nations. From Oxford to MIT, collaborative innovation flows in both directions. Lose that bond, and both education and industry suffer. For the US, the UK isn't just a nostalgic partner, it's a linchpin. If that linchpin were removed, cracks would form across every sector of American life. Number 2. India. India's rise as a global economic and technological power has made it one of the most important partners for the US in 2025. As the world's most populous country, India provides a massive labor force for American tech firms, especially in software development, IT services, and engineering. Without India's workforce, Silicon Valley would be scrambling. U.S. companies like Apple, Google, and Microsoft all depend on Indian talent, both abroad and in offices across India's tech hubs. Additionally, many of the back-end operations for American apps, data centers, and financial services are managed from cities like Bengaluru and Hyderabad. Any disruption in this pipeline could paralyze digital infrastructure. Trade with India has also grown substantially. The U.S. imports billions in pharmaceuticals, textiles, chemicals, and precision instruments from Indian producers. These are not luxuries, they're essential components in American healthcare and manufacturing systems. Diplomatically, India plays a key role in the Indo-Pacific strategy, acting as a counterbalance to China and a strategic military partner. In 2025, joint exercises and defense pacts between the two nations have only deepened, making the partnership critical to regional stability. Should India pull away or face internal disruption, the consequences for the U.S. would be immediate and widespread. It's not just a friend, it's an indispensable engine of American growth and global reach. Number 1. Brazil. Brazil may be thousands of miles away, but its importance to the U.S. economy runs deep. As the largest economy in South America, Brazil is a crucial supplier of raw materials like iron ore, crude oil, and soybeans, all of which feed major American industries. Without Brazil's vast natural resources, prices in U.S. construction, agriculture, and manufacturing would surge dramatically. In 2023, Brazil was the ninth largest exporter to the United States, sending over $42 billion worth of goods. These include not only agricultural products, but also key industrial components. For example, the U.S. depends on Brazil for niobium, a rare metal vital to aerospace and defense technologies. Beyond trade, Brazil plays a pivotal geopolitical role. It's part of the BRICS bloc, and its growing ties with China and Russia have Washington worried. A full economic or diplomatic break between the U.S. and Brazil could tip Latin American alliances further away from American influence. In recent years, Brazil has expanded its economic footprint through new bilateral trade deals, potentially loosening its dependence on the U.S. As that gap grows, America risks losing one of its last major footholds in the Western Hemisphere. With Brazil drifting toward a more multipolar stance, the U.S. may soon find itself without a reliable partner in South America. From aerospace minerals to soybean imports, Brazil's connection to the U.S. is more than just trade, it's economic survival. If Brazil were to shift fully toward BRICS and reduce its American ties, it would shake U.S. markets in ways few other countries could. That's why Brazil tops this list. It's the sleeping giant that America cannot afford to lose. The U.S. may be a global superpower, but it doesn't operate in a vacuum. Behind every iPhone chip, soybean shipment, or diplomatic vote at the UN, there's often a foreign partner pulling more weight than most Americans realize. As tensions rise, losing even a few of these relationships could send ripple effects through every corner of the American economy. In 2025, the world is shifting, and some of the U.S.'s most vital partnerships are hanging in the balance. These 10 countries aren't just allies or trade partners, they're structural pillars. If any of them walk away, the U.S. might feel the ground start to crack beneath its feet. Let us know which of these countries surprised you the most. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep following Globe Discoveries for more revealing global stories. Because sometimes, what holds America up isn't even American.